Hey everyone, welcome to the Soul on Fire show. I am super excited to be here today. We're going to talk about transcending your reality and what that looks like and how to use compassion to actually transcend your reality. Welcome everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Today's Wednesday and we get to teach on Wednesdays, which is beautiful and I love it so much. Thank you for being here on the live. Thank you for being here on the replay. I am Noelle Agape. I'm a quantum energy trainer. I'm an NLP trainer. I'm a licensed counselor, and I'm here to actually tap into your zone of genius and allow you to break through your upper limits, show you how to actually move into a different reality, not stay stuck where you are. On this channel, we merge science and spirituality. So welcome if you are here for the first time, and if you are joining us from being, one of my original viewers, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm super excited today because today is a very special show. It's about transcending reality and transcending trauma into what is compassion, on the frequency of compassion and what that looks like, and how to actually go into the frequency of compassion for yourself, for others, for the circumstances, for the trauma, and transcend that into an actual different reality. We talk about multiple realities on this show, and there's this infinite field of possibilities that are just waiting for you. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process of understanding what compassion actually is and the frequency of compassion and how to get there and how to move from the victimhood into compassion and understanding and love and grace. I am so excited to talk about this topic specifically because transcending trauma is my specialty. I've been doing this for as a licensed counselor and a quantum energy trainer, an NLP trainer, and now a shaman. I've been doing this for almost 25 years, and transcending trauma changes lives. And I'm just going to say that it's a softer show today. It's not as sciencey. It's more compassion and heart opening and understanding your heart and understanding your energy from a space of compassion and love. A softer show brings softer vibrations, right? And so we talk frequency on the show always. We talk science and spirituality. We go deep into the quantum fields and understanding what you can do and how to get there. I show you how to actually tap into your zone of genius and break through your upper limits. What I want to talk today about is understanding what the vibration of compassion is. And compassion is not just for others, it is for yourself, and understanding that there is a manifestation process, and the manifestation process starts at your desire, and walking through that in the infinite field of possibilities into the quantum fields looks very, very different for each of you on your journey. But the biggest thing that you can do to transcend anything is have compassion for yourself, for others, for where people are. I say all the time, with great love comes great experience, right? And so knowing and understanding that it's, I'm probably going to get super emotional on this show today because this is a very huge topic in my life, is knowing and understanding that love conquers all. And love is such a beautiful vibration, and it is such an incredible vibration, but it also is like a very confusing and could be toxic vibration as well. When you think that you're in ego, not consciousness, and we talk about that a lot on this channel, is moving from ego to consciousness, moving into spiritual maturity and understanding frequency and understanding how to work with the energy of something, not the person or the circumstance. It allows you to have more compassion and awareness for your life when you go through that journey. And it's such a beautiful journey of self-discovery. And that's what I want to tell you what compassion actually is. It's a discovery of you and knowing that there is nothing that is you outpushed, right? So the law of assumption is that you, if you believe it, it shows up in your reality. You're manifesting all day, every day, and you're taking into account that there is an infinite field of possibilities. You have chosen to stay in a loop, and mostly because of your trauma and your past, in your nervous system, that's stored in your nervous system and or in your neural net pathways. It is a beautiful journey of self-discovery, moving through trauma. It is not an easy journey, nor is it ever a journey of, it's a journey of healing, but it's a journey of you and God and connecting to you and God. And excuse me, It's just confirmation, right? So I believe in there's an infinite field of possibilities, and I believe that there's an infinite source that we can tap into. And God, for me, I believe it is God. I believe that there's a higher power of God's source universe, and I believe that it guides us all day, every day, and it guides us back to compassion and higher versions of love. And that's what we're going to talk about today is a higher version of love, self-love, getting there and how to get there, the frequency of it, transcending the trauma, understanding that there is an infinite amount of choices and an infinite amount of versions that are going on simultaneously as we speak, and you're choosing over and over again to either remain in the trauma or transcend the trauma. And one of the things that I teach all of my students and all of my clients is that compassion and love and the frequencies are so beautiful, yet sometimes so challenging, right? And so let's talk about love and talking about from egoic. My show from last week was about moving from egoic love to conscious love and what that journey is. And specifically with manifestations and transcending your reality is that it is always a choice. You always have a choice. You were traumatized, but you are no longer the victim, right? And so when you know and you understand that you have to find compassion within your heart, within yourself, within for others, and give a 360 view of what's going on in your life, and maybe it has nothing to do with you other than the fact that you've created it because you've been at that frequency. Right. So anything that is happening in your external world is just a reflection of what's going on in your internal world. And I'm going to repeat that again. And I say that almost every week, but everything that is going on in your external world is a reflection of what's going on in your internal world. There are times in life where you have to be in your feminine energies and receive, and there are times when you have to be in masculine energies when you're doing, right? And there are times when you're healing and you're moving through the trauma, and when you have to understand that your nervous system sometimes can't be in the push through mode, right? So, I mean, the masculine energies are very much like doing and moving, and sometimes you get to a point of an exhaustion because you're not living in compassion, you're not living in the feminine energies, you're not receiving as much as you're giving. Now, I want you to look at your trauma, and I want you to look at your trauma as an outside source. And getting hoarse just talking about this. I want you to look at your trauma as from an outside source of a space of spiritual maturity. And I want you to literally, not from the victim space, I want you to look at your trauma of your past life. Now, trauma could have happened anywhere from 0 to 10 years old. Your brain is so malleable, and it could come out as it could come out as abuse, as neglect, as abandonment, whatever it may be. It's yours, and it is yours because you're supposed to transcend it into a higher purpose. Your soul has come here to experience and expand and move beyond the lower frequencies into the higher frequencies, and God will never come down to your ego. And when you love and you are conscious and you are aware and you're spiritually mature, you're going to still fall from grace. You're going to still fall from grace. When your heart and your mind are not in coherence, you'll get opposite things in your life that are showing up in the middle of your manifestation. Now, we all know that the manifestation is a desire, and then there's a time lapse, and then there's the transition period between your ego and consciousness, and then moving into consciousness is when your desire actually shows up. The middle is very challenging because that's where you have to do the work. That's where you have to transcend the trauma. I've had a pretty crazy past, and I could use that as an excuse for my journey if I chose to, and to be in victim. I was, uh, more than you can possibly imagine has happened in my childhood, as well as I had the polarity of having a beautiful childhood in the same time. I was, abused and had an alcoholic father in one breath, but the next breath, I grew up on a resort with my grandparents that had divine love. And what I needed to do to transcend through the anger and through the hurt and through the masculine shield that I had put up was to understand that I had to be compassionate. I had to be compassionate for my father who was an alcoholic, or the abuser who, sexually abused me, or the situation and circumstance. And I believe that you can go into an infinite field of possibilities and you can actually revise those stories. But you have to have a huge amount of spiritual awareness to revise the stories. You can't go in as the victim. You have to go in, work with your nervous system, work with your neural pathways, and say, okay, how has this trauma, what is it teaching me? What is it showing me? What does my soul come here to evolve from? I see that and I accept that. And if you can't get to forgiveness, you at least get to acceptance of it. And knowing and understanding that it's still repeating in your nervous system and your neural net pathways until it is healed. How do you know when you have transformed into a different reality and you've transcended this, is when you can actually bring light into the darkness. And I'm going to say that again, when you bring light into the darkness, and that sounds very cliche, but it's the truth. When you bring light into the darkness, it illuminates the dark and shows you the lesson behind it. And so whether it's rejection or abandonment or whatever it may be of the insecurities that are lying underneath the wound, go into the wound and have compassion with that wound and that inner child within you, and develop a relationship with that inner child, and don't stay there, but as if you were a parent to that wound, right? I want you to go in to your nervous system. And I mean, I teach meditation and I do breath work. I'm clean with my eating. I have 5 coaches, and I still have trauma that comes up every once in a while that I get triggered by. And it is because we're here evolving all the time. And it is a conscious choice to move into a different reality and become a different person and a different version of you. And your ego will fight that because it's keeping you safe in that trauma. When you understand that being in the trauma is actually not safe, it's keeping you at a frequency that is very, very low, and it's in contracted energy, and it's not an energy of expansion. And when you understand that it is just a wounded child, and I say this all the time, from 0 to 7 or 0 to 10 even is your wounded child, and then your teenager years is your ego, right? And so you move from the wounded child to the ego to consciousness. And looking from a space of consciousness is very, very different than looking from a space of ego. And your ego will always tell you, I'm not safe, to like, it will do things that are just not conscious. It will ghost, it will avoid, it will run, it will fight, it will freeze. Those are the 4 responses of your nervous system. It will your neural pathways will trigger into the loop and say that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not safe, secure, and protected right now, you're not lovable, or you're not loved. And it will go into defense mechanism mode. And that's your ego, right? And that's just your wound. It's your ego protecting your wound, your inner teenager protecting your inner child. As an adult, as a spiritually mature adult, there's an infinite amount of possibilities that we can go into and we can tap into, and we can actually understand and see this beautiful gift of compassion. Compassion doesn't come very easily when you're in the victim or when you're in your ego, right? So compassion comes from your heart being open and doing the inner work. And compassion comes from a space of, what is that person? What was their level of consciousness, and how were they responding from their level of consciousness? And they were, oh, this is that person's wound, but actually it's my wound inside of me, because they're reflecting me. They're a reflection of me. So it's having compassion for yourself, and it's having compassion for others, and it's having compassion and understanding that there's a journey that you're going on, and your soul is going on this beautiful journey to expand and experience. And if you stay at the lower frequencies without compassion, without love, without transcending these lower frequencies, you will just continue to loop and have the same patterns over and over again in your life. And it's a challenging journey, right? It's not a journey of moving and shaking and making it happen. That's manipulation, right? That's not manifestation. When you manifest the life of your dreams, you're coming from higher frequencies, you're taking accountability, you're living in spiritual maturity, you're pivoting into a new reality, you're accepting that your ego has made some choices that were not the highest frequency, and you're having compassion for your inner child and your inner ego and your inner teenager, and you're moving to spiritual maturity and consciousness and saying, no, that's actually not where I want to remain, right? And it's not an easy journey, because you cannot be in victim and compassion at the same time. And I will say that again, you cannot be in victim and compassion at the same time. And knowing and understanding that is a big deal. Now, with compassion, you have to let go of every single expectation. And this was really hard journey for me, because I'm a type A athlete. I believe in excellence, but I believe in excellence through hard work and dedication. But I also believe in excellence because of the power within inside of you, and connecting with God in you, and understanding that you are the I am presence. You are God, and you are a version of God here on earth. And so my expectations are of that. But what I had to learn on this journey was that everybody is at a different level of consciousness. And when you understand that everybody is at a different level of consciousness, and everybody's here to learn and grow, we're all here doing this together. We're doing the best we can on a daily basis. And people have been programmed through their wounds and their victims. It's very, very, very different perception of, you did this to me, or actually, I did this to me because you're a version of me. And that's a really hard concept to gain if you're not in compassion, if you're not in love, if you're not in spiritual maturity, if you're not in the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But we're very much operating from the wounded masculine and the wounded feminines. And will you still get triggered along the way? Of course, you're still in human embodiment. And will you still go through everything? But the coolest thing in the world, guys, and again, today I'm not talking about the roadmap of manifestation. If you want to go to noelleagape.com, or you want to watch anything on my show on the replay, there's hundreds of shows on how to actually manifest. This is how to actually just transcend the pain into a higher frequency, is what we're talking about today. So we're going to go more into that in just a little bit. Stay tuned, because it's understanding who you are, and the self-love and the empowerment of God in you through you, loving and understanding the journey, and loving and understanding that when you transcend your trauma into a higher frequency, that's when you transcend your life. We will be right back, guys. Stay tuned. And we're going to go more into transcending your reality using compassion. Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show with me. I am Noelle Agape. I am your host, and I'm a quantum energy trainer, an NLP trainer, a licensed counselor, and I'm finishing up my shaman journey. Today we're talking about transcending into a different reality, and understanding how compassion and love, and the highest frequencies of love and compassion, come in through you, and you get outpushed to your reality. So let's talk about the process of transcending reality and what that looks like, because we talked in the first version of what it takes to be in compassion. So first and foremost, you have to understand who you are, and doing this work is not easy, but I promise you it is life-changing. I promise you it is life-changing. First and foremost, you have to go into the wound, right? You have to find your inner journey, and you have to realize and take accountability that everything, not one thing outside of you has anything to do with you inside of you. Everything, let me rephrase that, sorry. Everything that is external is internal. And when you understand that you are creating your reality by your frequency and your vibration, and your dominant vibration, thoughts become patterns, patterns become beliefs, beliefs become your reality. Your heightened sense of thought is the electro and the magnetic in the pulling of it, which is the divine masculine energies, and the magnetic is what you draw into you. The heightened sense of thought is your communication between your mind, and the heightened sense of emotion is the communication between your body and your mind and your body. When they're in alignment, will manifest beautiful, magical experiences because you're here to experience. Now, what is the trauma? The trauma is there for you and expansion. That's it. The trauma is there for your soul to expand beyond it, and it is there to be transcended. So understanding that point is very, 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 very important, because understanding that the trauma is there to teach you to grow, to move through the trauma, to transcend the trauma to a higher frequency. Now, energy can't be removed or destroyed, it just can be transmuted. And so that is our responsibility as spiritually mature, beautiful human beings, that we get to transcend our trauma, and then we get to live our life of our dreams. We get to look at the trauma and go through the trauma, but not stay in the trauma. And then we actually get to transcend it into a higher frequency. And from that space is when you have an open heart and you have able to receive in the divine feminine, and you're not going against brick walls, and you're making a conscious choice that you are choosing not your ego, but a different reality. Because there is an infinite field of possibilities, and anything is possible. It's all within you and is already done. So you just have to allow yourself to be at the frequency of whatever it is that you want to transcend into your reality. You have to become it, literally, energetically become it, because the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. And so let's talk about transcending the trauma. Transcending the trauma is finding and knowing the trauma, whether it's in your neural net pathways of your limiting beliefs of fear, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, or shame, the lower emotions. Or is it, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, secure, and protected, I'm not lovable, or not whole and complete, behind those negative emotions, right? Or is it stored in your nervous system, where trauma gets stored in your body? And most don't know that emotions get stored in your body, and understanding the mind and the body and the communication between the two actually creates your reality. But there's a different reality at a different frequency happening right now at this time. And so understanding that you go into the trauma as an observer and have awareness of what happened. Okay, I was in fear. I'm in fear of rejection. I'm in fear of abandonment. When I was a child, my father left when I was 3 years old, and I was sexually abused, and my grandfather was my hero, died in my arms when I was 15 years old. So I never had a divine masculine energy other than my grandfather up until I was 15. But then from 15 on, I never had a father. So I had a masculine shield of abandonment or rejection, and so my nervous system, stored within my nervous system, was my trauma. Stored within my nervous system was, it's not safe to love you because you're going to leave, men hurt or leave, was my trauma. That was just an example for you guys to understand your trauma, is that whatever has happened to you, whether it's abandonment or rejection or neglect or whatever it may be, it is your child trying to expand from that energy. You go in as a compassionate parent, even if you're not a parent, or a loving aunt or niece, or as if you were speaking to a little child, and you have compassion and love for that wound, and for everyone that was involved in that wound. You go in and you say that was the level of consciousness that they were at. They were not at an expanded level of consciousness. They were not at spiritual maturity. How can I forgive? How can I move through? How can I understand this? You go into the trauma, but you don't stay there. And then from that space, what you can do is energetically, you can actually reframe the story of how you changed, right? You could go in and you can change the story, because a different version of you already exists. And you can learn the lesson, and you can figure out, oh, from abandonment and neglect and rejection, what I was supposed to learn was self-empowerment. And I was supposed to learn independence. And I was supposed to learn how to love a masculine unconditionally, right? And that's what you need to understand, is that there's something that it is teaching you, that you get to go into the wound, but not stay in the wound. You get to heal the wound and move through the wound, and then have love at a greater, higher frequency. How do you do that? With compassion. It takes a lot of self-discipline to look at something and say, I created this. for my expansion, for my soul to move on and to experience beyond this experience. It takes a lot to move through it. When I work with my clients, when I work with when I teach my practitioners how to work with their clients, going into the wound is one of the hardest things. But finding compassion and acceptance to get to love and forgiveness is usually their barrier, right? Because it is their ego stuck saying, this happened to me, not for me. And what I usually like to do is once you see and identify the wound, I want you to pull yourself out of the wound and I want you to have a 360 view of everything. Now, if you were sitting there telling a story from a movie theater and you were watching a movie, I want you to explain literally what was going on, but from an observer's point of view, without emotional attachment, just facts. So I want you to write down everything that wound has felt. How did you feel in that wound? What was coming up for you? What emotions were coming up? What belief systems are around that wound? What loops have you created? What was your defense mechanism? What was your safety around that wound? Now I want you to look at every single circumstance and person inside of that wound. And I want you to have compassion for yourself as if it were a child going through this, telling you this story, knowing and understanding that you wouldn't scream at a 1-year-old and say, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Or a 3-year-old, or if you left a 3-year-old alone in your house to figure out life, or a 5-year-old to figure out life. Have some compassion for that 15-year-old. Have some compassion for that 13-year-old. They're baby souls learning their way, right? And when you know and understand that compassionate love transmutes energy into a higher frequency, and how you can change your life by not staying in the victim. And I'm getting emotional because it is such an important thing that I do in this world, is transcend into love. And I really believe that that's why I'm here on this planet, is to transcend things into love and transmute energies into higher frequencies and to teach people how to do that. But when you do that, guys, it gives you freedom. Freedom from your past, freedom from the depression of the past, or the sadness of the past, or the fear of the past, or fear of the future, and the anxiety that plays it. And it allows you to be present in this moment. And when you understand, and something happened to me this week, and it was so crazy because the chain of events that happened, and it was birds before land and all this, and I'm in the process of manifesting everything. And I'm in the transition of the manifestation and in the transition period. Yet, as I went into that exact wound that I've been healing my whole life, right? Magic happened, and it was like beautiful souls. My children showed up in such a loving, kind way, and other beautiful souls just brought me joy and enlightenment. And I had experiences that were beautiful while I was still going through and healing something that had happened, but I didn't stay in the wound. As a matter of fact, I am in complete detachment from that wound now, because I went right into gratitude. And as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, okay, this is the transition period between my ego, my wounded child, my ego, and now into consciousness. I'm right on the verge of consciousness. How can I be grateful? How can I be? And I went into gratitude, and I literally poured love into my kids. I poured love into the people in my life, and some people are new in my life. And I had experiences that were magical from transcending that into a higher frequency. And it was literally able to look at something in one moment in time, and be incredibly sad and incredibly frustrated, and change it with compassion with love and beauty and strength and grace. And from that moment, I got into gratitude, and everything literally shifted in my reality and moved into a different reality. Why did I move into a different reality? Because I made a conscious choice. I said, oh, okay, this is the old version of me that is showing up right now. This is my wound that I'm working on healing. I'm in the transition period of healing, but I know I don't have to stay in that wound. And so I'm going to find gratitude in my home. I'm going to find gratitude in my kids. I'm going to find gratitude in my clients. I'm going to find gratitude in the people that are surrounding me in love. I am going to send this circumstance and situation thing so much love and compassion and joy and move. I'm not going to stay in that space. I'm going to apologize for my behavior during the trigger. I'm going to take a step back. And in that moment also, I became a student in the teacher in one breath. And this is one of the most important things of how to transcend is I could come from my ego and say, I have 25 years of experience. I have 14 years of grad school. I teach this. I train people how to teach this. I train practitioners how to do this. I have this credential. Or I can stop and say, wow, I created this. This is still a wound in my childhood that I actually have to go in and have compassion and love for. Let me have compassion and love for everyone that was involved in that situation. How can I be better? I can apologize. Also, how can I know that I am still in the process of transcending this into a different energy? How can I be in gratitude? How can I live in gratitude? I have 5 coaches, probably now going to get 6 because I'm just signing on with another program to teach me, because I am the student in one breath and the teacher in another, and meaning that I am humble enough to know that I am still in human embodiment and I have more to learn, but I have mastered tremendous amount of things that I can teach, and I am confident enough to know that I can teach it, but I get to go through it. I get to go through the pain and bring it out into the world and teach it to you guys, right? And so could I do that on my own? No, I could not. Could I ever have transcended all of that in months? You could. It's just a harder journey. So knowing and understanding that to be humble enough to accept accountability. I spent 2 hours on the phone with one of my best friends, transcending this thing that happened. Within 24 hours, I transcended. Did the circumstance change? Not quite yet, but did I see it from a different perspective? Yes, because I chose to see it from a different perspective, with compassion, with love, with beauty, with strength, with grace. From the divine feminine, I actually went in and softened and wasn't hard. I wasn't angry. I was softer. And there are moments in time, and divine feminine, masculine is not male, female. There are moments in time where you have to be in action and go mode. And there are moments in time where you actually have to soften and open up your heart space and be in your heart space and be in the feels and feel all the feelings and move through those and understand that you are on this journey. And for me to stop, I could have easily been in my ego and said, this is, this, and I'm the expert. Instead, what I did was I softened, I apologized. Can't be responsible for how that person responds. I could only be responsible for how I respond, because their version of me, that's the version that I created. I could no longer choose to be in that vibration. I can no longer choose to be in the wound. I could choose to be in a different version and move on, but know and understand that it's still something in the process of needing to be healed. So what did I do? Instantly went to, and I'm very grateful, very, very beyond grateful that my core group is therapists. My core group is quantum energy people, right? So I have 10 people, 25 people on speed dial that could assist me through the journey. I went in and I transcended it, and magic and miracles happen. And the story that I was writing, and the story that I was creating, and the vibration and the frequency that I was allowing, was the old version of me. And that's not, I dipped back in 6 months. 6 months I worked on this exact thing, and I dipped back in for probably, I don't know, maybe 12 hours, 15 hours, because it was like a 2-day process. And then I stopped and I was like, wait, this is the old version of me. I don't live at that frequency anymore. I don't want to be in that frequency. I consciously choose to be in a different frequency. I consciously choose to be in gratitude. I am so grateful for everything that's going on in my life. I find compassion and love for this human and this situation, and I move on. That's the final piece to transcending. It is detaching. 360 view, you look at it with compassion, you look at it with love and grace, you soften, you open up your heart, you find self-love. Now, does this mean that you can't have boundaries? No. Boundaries are one of the most important things with transcending things, because it's choosing not to be. Now, boundaries are not F you, I'm putting up a boundary because you crossed my boundary and I don't like the way I feel. Boundaries are, I choose not to be in that frequency anymore. I choose not to be in that wound anymore. I choose not to be in that space anymore. And if you're going to be in that space, that means that I'm going to entertain being in that space with you. And I don't want to be in that space anymore. So for me, boundaries are very, very different than most people, because it's not F you. My boundaries are not made from ego. My boundaries are made from a space of compassion and love and beauty and grace. And my boundaries are, hey, I love you so much, but this I can't have in my life. This isn't working for me because that's the old version of me, and I can't have that. So for me to be in expansion, energy, and spiritual maturity, I can love you and I can send you compassion from afar, but I can't have that. And did it hurt? If this was happened with somebody that I love tremendously, it hurt. And all is well. The universe has my back. God is loving and compassionate and kind. Everything will work itself out. Did I have to go through it? Yeah. Can I see it from a different space? Yeah. Are we in alignment? We were not in alignment. Can you get back into alignment? Always. Energy is fluid. Energy moves through you. It's God in you, through you. And when you know and understand that, it is every second I have to be conscious. Every second I get to choose consciousness over ego. Every second I get to have compassion. Every second I get to have beauty. Every second I get to have strength and grace. Every second I get to love and forgive and know that I created that situation. I created that. Nothing, not one thing is outside of me. Not one thing. Do I need more work in that space? Obviously, right? Will I continue to grow and be the student and the teacher in one breath? Of course. That's why I'm here on this planet. I am here to be a master teacher, and God has called me to teach this and transcend through the trauma. Do I know that I will never be in my ego as a teacher? Ever be in my ego as a teacher and know that I don't have more growth? Because the second that I leave this earth, that's when I could pause and say, okay, that journey is complete. And it's never complete because it's continually moving. It's eternal. Energy is eternal. You're never finished. You're never complete. And if you have a coach that thinks that they're above you and they're the student, you're the student and they're the teacher, I promise you guys, I have learned more from my children, more from my relationships, and more from my clients than I would ever learn from anyone in my life. I also have coaches that have gone through this, right? If you are looking for support, seek support, get support, go to where you need to go. Stop and pause. Get the help that you need. Go to noelleagape.com. We have hundreds of programs at noelleagape.com. Watch the shows. There's YouTube. There's so much that you can do. Transcending your trauma is a choice. Living at a lower frequency and living in the victim is a choice. Now, will people upset you along the journey? Probably. Will you fall from grace along the journey? Always. It's how you respond from that, right? Do you stay in the space that is unhealed? Do you move into a transcended higher frequency? When you transmute the energy instantly, I was on a call with one of my clients last week. We literally went in to her wound. We gave it compassion and love. We gave the person that she needed to forgive compassion and love. Not even kidding you. Within 15 minutes, he called, showed up completely different than what she was experiencing. Why? Because the energy, work with the energy, not the person or the circumstance or the trauma. What is the energy of the trauma? Do you want to stay there? Now let's talk about trauma bonding and what that looks like and how people think that they're moving through energy and healing in a space when they're trauma bonding in relationships. And I will promise you this, trauma bonding is never healing. It is actually activating the trauma more. You are attracted to people that are like you. So if the programs that are running in your mind are a victim, you will attract people that are in victim. If your programs that are running are not worthy, you will attract every situation in your life that is not worthy, right? So understanding and knowing the trauma, having an awareness of the trauma in your nervous system, in your neural net pathways, in your mind body, your mental body. And these are the 4 bodies that we work with and I teach my practitioners to work with. It's your mental body. What are your thoughts, right? What is your loops? What is your daily mental diet? Your physical body, your nervous system. What is going on in your nervous system? Where was the trauma stored in your nervous system? Your emotions are stored in your body as a communication. Your communication between your mind is your thoughts. Your communication between your body is your emotions. Going from that space, your emotional body, how do you manage your emotions? What do you deal? It's your responsibility to manage your emotions. It's your responsibility to not stay in your wounded child, right? Your energetic body, how are you working with your energy? What is coming up in your life? How do you transcend from a lower frequency to a higher frequency? Again, all of it is at noelleagape.com if you want to go and join us. Come and join us in Costa Rica in a couple of weeks. But heal the trauma, transcend the energy, transmute the energy into a higher frequency, and your reality will transcend into everything that you want. You're manifesting all day, every day, all day, every day. And you get to choose to be a conscious creator, or you get to just show up in the old version. We're not locked into one single reality. We are infinite beings having infinite experiences with infinite possibilities, right? Where do you have importance? This is a very big thing. Where are you putting importance on something? Because I promise you, if something is more important than it, if you're putting importance on it and you're not choosing from the infinite field of possibilities, you're focusing all of your energy into the one stream of frequency when there's an infinite field that you can be in. That is one reality, one possibility. Can you go in and revise the story? Yes. I mean, NLP, I'm an NLP trainer, right? You can go in and you can revise the story. You could delete people. You could change circumstances and situations with your neural net pathways. You could do it with your nervous system. There's the body work that you have to do in this physical form is how you transmute the energy. I'm going to say that again. The body work that you do with your neural net pathways and your mental body and your physical body and changing the energy in your emotional body is how you transcend the energy. It is amazing and wonderful when you set out with the intention of transcending the energy without expectations, because there's an infinite field of possibilities, and you choose a different reality, you choose a different frequency consciously, and you make that dominant frequency yours, your life changes. Meaning, I see the fear, I see the fear of rejection. I see the abandonment. I see it. It's there. I see my masculine shield. I choose never to be in that space again. Will I fall from grace and dip back in? Yes. Have I? Yes. Is it comfortable when I do? No. Do I apologize? Always. Always. Do I find my way back to consciousness? Every moment of every day, I find my way back to consciousness. Is it a conscious choice? It is. Is it hard? I wouldn't say it's hard. I would say it's a journey of self development and spiritual maturity. I would say that going through the trauma and going through the work, not an easy journey. And I'm never going to lie to you, it's not bubbles and unicorns, but it is a conscious choice to remain in a victim or remain in fear, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, and shame. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not safe, secure, and protected. Or remain in love, compassion, bliss, enjoyment, fun. We're going to take another quick break, guys, and then we're going to give you some key takeaways to transcending your reality. We'll be right back. Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show. I am Noelle Agape. I am a quantum energy trainer, an NLP trainer, a licensed counselor, and a shaman. So today we're talking about transcending your reality through compassion and love and choosing a frequency of a higher frequency, moving through your wound, having observation of your wound, of what it may be and understanding what it may be, but not staying in that frequency. How do you move into a new reality? That's the very important thing, is how do you move into a new reality? It is mentally a diet. It is, the law of assumption is it already exists, right? So you have to, whatever you believe shows up in your reality. So if you believe that you're acting from the space of the wound of rejection, abandonment, fear, shame, whatever it may be, that's what will show up in your reality. If you believe that you are everything I have ever created in my life and manifested has come from this exact blueprint. You have a desire, you believe it is possible, you trust, you go through the time lapse, right? Because we're moving from particle to wave, and from wave back into particle through the time lapse from the 5D to the 3D. From that space, you actually know that there's an infinite amount of possibilities. You make a conscious and choice and intention to live in that other reality of infinite fields of possibilities. You're choosing to experience something in this 3D realm completely different than what you were. So your ego is going to have to go through that transition and moving from the literally the wounded child to the ego to the higher level of consciousness. Then detachment. Detachment is a very hard thing when your ego believes that you're not safe. When you are releasing an old identity, your ego doesn't feel safe, right? So what will come up? The opposite of everything that you're manifesting, because you're purging out of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? If we become this person, I'm fear of rejection. I'm going to let go of all this stuff, right? When you have compassion, when you have awareness, when you have self-love and boundaries from a place of higher self-love, you actually start to manipulate energies, right? Oh, I see that's fear, but that's really cool that that fear is here. And I see that rejection is here. And that's really cool that the rejection is here, because on the other side of that is I'm getting married, right? For me, that's mine. So the other side of that is a healthy, beautiful relationship, right? So what is the opposite that is showing up in your reality? That is already there. And it's really cool because the purging period is really tough, but it's really cool because you get to see, oh my gosh, I'm closer than I actually realized, because the frequency is already there. It's just the opposite. And it's my subconscious purging my old version of me. Now I'm moving into the new version of me. And I'm so excited because I'm in gratitude. I'm in love. I'm in grace. I see things from a different point of view. I'm staying and remaining here. It's a conscious choice to raise my frequency as often as possible. And how do I do that? I don't stay in, I feel the sadness. I feel the anger. I go through it and I move through it into love and beauty and strength and grace. And I soften. And in the softening period, that's when I can be like, okay, now I know who I am. Then you get to the Sabbath state, which is the 0 point field. And it is when your ego and your consciousness, it's in between the ego and consciousness, and it is the stillness. The stillness. Every spiritual teacher teaches this, right? This is the blueprint. You have a desire, you have the time lapse that you're moving through from the 5D to the 3D. You're doing the inner work in the transition period, right? Your subconscious purges everything out. The opposite usually shows up. The opposite's a good sign because you're closer than you realize. So the frequency is coming because you're the opposite. You're on the same frequency. You're just on the wrong vibration of that frequency. From that space, you go into the Sabbath state, which is amazing. The Sabbath state is, it's done. I know it's done. I've transcended that reality. I've transcended and healed that wound. I no longer have to live in that wound, but I can now live in the higher frequencies and the higher version of myself. And I understand and know it's done. And that, when you're detached in the Sabbath state, your manifestation appears. It's that simple, guys. When you understand the blueprint of transcending reality, you dance with the universe. Does it take time and patience and trust and faith? 1,000,000%. If you don't have patience, if you don't have trust, if you don't believe that it is possible, if you don't understand what you're doing is actually transcending energy, it will never happen, because your beliefs become patterns, patterns become beliefs, and your thoughts become patterns, patterns become beliefs, beliefs become your reality. Your heightened sense of emotion and your heightened sense of thought. So if you have a heightened sense of thought that's grateful, and I am so grateful for my home, I'm so grateful for my kids, I'm so grateful for my life, I have the best life ever, I'm living the best life I could possibly live, right? As opposed to, oh my God, this situation sucks, I can't believe this is happening, this person did this to me, right? No, it is, I am so grateful for where I'm at. I actually am 100% in gratitude and acceptance that actually happened, because if that didn't happen, I couldn't get to the higher frequency. I had to go through it to get to the higher frequency. Now, do you always have to go through the trauma to get to the higher frequency? No, but it is definitely your soul expanding when you're doing it, right? The Sabbath state is beautiful. It is detachment. It is knowing. It is inner knowing that that wound was the old version of me. And that last final purge has come up to teach me and show me that vibration I choose, I will never be in again. Now, will it come up again? Of course, to test you, to see. It's called trials of faith, right before your manifestation, especially when you're transmuting the energy into a higher identity and a higher frequency. Your subconscious will test you. The universe, God doesn't test you. It's the universe making sure that you're ready and that you have conformed to a different reality. So all of this takes place within the transcending of your reality. You have a desire, you have a time lapse, you have the transition period, which is the hardest. That's the time to go internal, not external, understanding that everything is you outpush. That's when to do the inner work. Do the inner work, have compassion, have love, go into the wound, transcend that energy into a higher frequency. How can you see that situation as growth? How can you see that situation as a lesson? How can you see that person, place, situation, thing differently? It's perspective. How can you change your feelings and your emotions around that? How can you actually reprogram your mind and your body? Your mind is a computer, your body's a machine. You can program all of it to believing and knowing and seeing and visualizing and becoming and feeling and knowing and understanding that other version of you is who you are, and choosing consciously from the infinite field of possibilities that there are so many choices that you can do. Transcending reality is a choice. Transcending your emotions is a choice. The Sabbath state is right before. Final detachment, lean back, watch the universe do its thing. The universe will never give you what you want. It only gives you what you are. Become what you want to transcend into. How do you do that? You got to do the work. You have to do the work. It is an internal game. This transcending reality is an internal game. Compassion, love, enlightenment, bliss, joy, gratitude, right? How do you live in that space? You choose to live in that space. That is manifestation, not manipulation. Stop trying to manipulate your reality. Manifest the life of your dreams. You are more powerful than you'll ever know. God in you, through you. It is written in every single spiritual scripture, this exact blueprint. Understanding and knowing that we are transcending energy. It is all energy. That's it. You're not working with people. You're not working with circumstances. You're working with the wounded child, your ego, and consciousness. Moving from all of those into spiritual maturity is how you transcend reality. I'm going to just tell you guys, the journey to do on your own is not easy. Go to noelleagape.com. There's tons of free things there for you. There are tons of programs. If you want to get, I have practitioners, quantum practitioners that can help you. If you want to go even further, come to Costa Rica with us. I promise you this, when you do the inner work, your life will change. You want to transcend your reality? Start with your inner world. It's the only thing that you can do. You are more powerful than you will ever know. Everything that you've ever wanted, everything that you've ever wanted is wanting you, and it is inside of you. God in you, through you. God will never come down to your ego. Your soul has come here to experience this life and expand beyond the lower frequencies. Find compassion for yourself, for others. Take a beat when you need to take a beat. Soften when you need to soften. Move when you need to move. Change when you need to change. You can do this. I love you so much. You are so powerful. It is all within you. Join us in Costa Rica, guys, if you want to change your life forever, because it's amazing. We're going to be jumping off cliffs. We're going to be doing insane whitewater rafting, a week of soul work, a week of adventure, a week of travel. Again, you can go to noelleagape.com. I have practitioners that can help you. I have free meditations and activations. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. Do the inner work, and I promise you, find compassion and self-love within yourself, and your world will transcend. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.